The alarm bells rang through the research station, meridian like angry metal birds. Dr. Jake Morrison dropped his coffee cup and rushed to the communication center. The hot liquid splashed across his white lab coat, but he did not care. Something was happening out there in the dark space around the gas giant they called home base. Captain Lisa Hayes stood at the main screen with her arms crossed. Her face looked serious as always, but Jake could see worry in her green eyes. The screen showed a small ship spinning slowly through space. It looked broken and damaged with burn marks along its silver hull. "What do we know about it?" Jake asked as he walked up beside her. "Nothing good," Lisa said without looking away from the screen. "The ship does not match any design in our database. The materials look advanced, but the energy readings are almost zero. If someone is alive in there, they will not be for much longer." Jake studied the strange ship on the screen. It was beautiful in a way that human ships were not. The curves flowed like water, and the metal seemed to shine even in the weak light from the distant star. But beauty would not help whoever was inside if they were dying. "We have to help them," Jake said. Lisa turned to look at him. "Jake, you know the rules. First contact protocol says we observe and report to Earth Command. We do not make contact without permission. By the time we get permission, that ship will be a tomb," Jake said. His voice got louder, and other crew members started to look their way. "We are talking about lives here, Lisa, real people who need help right now." Security Chief Pete Collins walked over from his station. Pete was a big man with dark skin and careful eyes. He had served in the military before joining the research mission, and he always thought about danger first. "The doc is right about the time factor," Pete said slowly. "But we do not know what we are dealing with. That ship could be a trap or worse." Jake felt his heart beating faster. "Look at it, Pete. Does that look like a warship to you? It is barely holding together. Whoever is inside needs medical help, and we are the only people who can give it." "Engineer." Amy Johnson came over from the engine control panel. Amy was small and quick with red hair that never stayed in place. She was also the smartest person Jake knew when it came to understanding how things worked. "I have been scanning the ship," Amy said. "The power systems are failing, but I can detect one life sign. It is weak and getting weaker." Lisa looked around at her crew. Jake could see her thinking hard about what to do. She was a good captain and she cared about doing the right thing, but she also had to think about the safety of her own people. "If we bring that ship aboard, we could be putting everyone at risk," Lisa said. "If we do not bring it aboard, someone dies," Jake said. "Is that the kind of people we want to be? The kind who let others die because we are afraid?" Amy nodded. "I can set up containment fields in cargo bay too. We can bring the ship in without direct contact." Pete looked unhappy, but he did not argue. "I can have security teams ready just in case." Lisa was quiet for a long moment. The only sounds were the soft hums and beeps of the station systems. Finally, she nodded. Double quotes, "Do it, but we take every precaution. Full containment and no direct contact until we know what we are dealing with." The next hour was busy and tense. Amy worked to modify the cargo bay while Pete positioned his security teams. Jake prepared the medical bay for a patient unlike any he had ever treated. He did not know what kind of being they would find, but he would be ready to help. The rescue operation went smoothly. Amy used the station's tractor beam to pull the damaged ship into cargo bay 2. The containment fields activated as soon as the bay doors closed. Now they could study the ship and its passengers safely. Jake stood in the observation room looking down at the strange ship through thick glass. It was even more beautiful up close. The metal seemed to flow like liquid, and there were patterns in the hull that looked almost like writing, but not quite. "Life signs are getting weaker," Amy said from her control panel. "Whatever is in there does not have much time left." Jake made a decision. "I'm going in." "Jake, no," Lisa said. "We do not know if it is safe. The containment fields will protect the station," Jake said. "But if I do not help now, there will be nothing left to help." Pete stepped forward. "If you are going in, I am going with you. Full protective gear, and we stay in constant contact." 20 minutes later, Jake walked into cargo bay 2 wearing a full environmental suit. Pete was right behind him with a security team. The damaged ship looked even stranger up close. Jake could see that parts of the hull were not metal at all, but something that looked almost alive. They found the airlock on the side of the ship. Amy had managed to override the locking mechanism from the station. The door opened with a soft hiss and stale air drifted out. Inside the ship, everything was curves and soft light. There were no sharp edges anywhere, and the walls seemed to glow with their own inner light. Jake followed a corridor that curved gently to the left. His heart was beating fast, but not from fear. This was the moment humans had dreamed about for centuries. First contact with another intelligent species. He found the pilot in what looked like the command center. The being was humanoid, but clearly not human. It had pale blue skin and large dark eyes. Its limbs were thin and long, and its head was larger than a human head. The being was unconscious and breathing weakly. Jake knelt beside the alien pilot. "I found him," he said into his radio. "He is alive, but barely. I need to get him to medical right away." "Is it safe to move him?" Lisa asked through the radio. Jake looked at the alien's peaceful face. The being looked young and afraid even in unconsciousness. "I think so. He does not look dangerous. He looks hurt and scared." As Jake reached out to check for injuries, the alien's eyes opened. They were the deepest black Jake had ever seen, like looking into space itself. The alien looked at Jake for a moment, and then something amazing happened. Pictures appeared in Jake's mind. Not words, but images clear as day. He saw a beautiful world with crystal cities and people like this alien living in peace. Then he saw darkness coming from space. Ships like black metal destroying everything. He saw this alien running and hiding and finally escaping in this small ship. The alien was trying to tell him something. This being was not a threat. He was a refugee, a survivor of some terrible war who needed help. "It is okay," Jake said softly, even though he did not know if the alien could understand him. "You are safe now. We are going to help you." 3 weeks had passed since they brought Vex aboard the station. That was the name the alien had shared with them through the strange mind pictures he could send. Jake spent most of his time in the medical bay where Vex was recovering. The alien healed faster than any human ever could. Cuts that should have taken days to heal were gone in hours. Vex could not speak with his mouth, but he was very good at sharing thoughts through images. Jake had learned to understand these picture messages and had become the main person who talked with their guest. Through the images, Jake learned that Vex came from a world called Theros, where his people lived in peace for thousands of years until the Devourers came. The Devourers were monsters according to Vex's pictures. They traveled from world to world, eating everything they found. They destroyed Theros and killed almost everyone. Vex was one of the few who escaped, and he had been running from them ever since. "He has been alone for so long," Jake told Captain Lisa during their morning meeting. "Can you imagine what that must be like? Your whole world gone and everyone you ever knew dead." Lisa nodded, but she still looked worried. "I understand why you feel sorry for him, Jake, but we need to think about protocol. Earth Command wants us to bring him to the main space station New Geneva for proper first contact procedures." Pete Collins was also at the meeting, and he did not look happy. "I still think we are moving too fast. We do not know enough about him or his people. What if the Devourers he talks about are real and they are looking for him? We could be putting Earth in danger." "Pete, you have seen the same images I have," Jake said. "Vex is not dangerous. He is grateful for our help, and he wants to share his knowledge with us. Yesterday he showed me designs for energy systems that could change everything." Amy Johnson looked up from her datapad. "The energy designs are real," she said. "I have been studying the technical images Vex shared, and they are far beyond anything. We have clean power that could solve all our energy problems." "That is exactly what worries me," Pete said. "Why would he just give us such valuable technology? What does he want in return?" Jake felt angry at Pete's suspicion. Maybe he gives it to us because he is grateful. Maybe he gives it because he is a good person who wants to help the people who saved his life. Not everyone has hidden motives. "Pete," Lisa held up her hand to stop the argument. "We leave for New Geneva tomorrow. Earth Command wants to meet with Vex and decide how to proceed. Jake, you will continue as primary contact during the trip. The journey to New Geneva took 5 days. Jake spent most of that time with Vex learning more about his culture and his people. Vex shared images of beautiful cities made from crystal and metal that grew like plants. He showed Jake art and music and poetry from his world. It was all lost now, but Vex kept it alive in his memory. Vex also shared more technical knowledge. Medical treatments that could heal almost any injury. Computer systems that thought like living minds. Transportation technology that could move people across vast distances in seconds. Each gift made Jake more convinced that humanity had found its first true friend among the stars. But strange things started happening during the trip. Amy reported that some of the ship's systems were acting oddly. Nothing dangerous, but small glitches that made no sense. Computer screens would flicker for no reason. Temperature controls would adjust themselves. Communication systems would pick up signals that were not there. It started after we brought Vex aboard, Amy told Jake privately. I am not saying he is causing it, but the timing is suspicious. Jake did not want to hear it. You said yourself that his technology is far beyond ours. Maybe our systems are just reacting to being near such advanced equipment. Amy did not look convinced, but she did not argue. Other crew members began reporting strange dreams. Nightmares about dark creatures with too many teeth destroying cities and eating people. The dreams were so vivid that some people woke up screaming. Dr. Ben Parker, the ship's psychologist, said it was probably stress from the first contact situation. Meeting an alien species is traumatic even when it goes well, Ben explained to Lisa. People's minds are trying to process something they never expected to experience. Bad dreams are normal. But Jake noticed that the people who spent the most time near Vex had the worst dreams. Pete Collins looked tired and jumpy. Amy seemed nervous and kept checking her equipment over and over. Even Lisa appeared more stressed than usual. Jake was the only one who did not have bad dreams. Instead, his dreams were full of beautiful images that Vex shared with him. He saw Thyros as it had been before the Devourers came. He saw the crystal cities and the peaceful people. He saw art and beauty beyond anything on Earth. When they reached New Geneva, Jake felt excited but also nervous. This was the moment that would change everything for humanity. First contact with a friendly alien species who wanted to share knowledge. And friendship. The meeting with Earth Command went better than Jake had hoped. Admiral Frank Morgan and the other leaders were impressed with Vex's gifts and his peaceful nature. They saw the potential for technology that could transform human civilization. This is exactly what we have hoped for, Admiral Morgan told Jake after meeting with Vex. A peaceful first contact with a species that wants to help us grow and learn. But not everyone was happy. Dr. Susan Clark, the head of xenobiology, raised concerns about moving too quickly. We should study him more carefully before we start integrating his technology into our systems, she argued. We know almost nothing about his biology or psychology. Jake defended Vex strongly. We know that he is peaceful and grateful and wants to help us. We know that his people were victims of a terrible war and that he is one of the few survivors. What more do we need to know? The decision was made to bring Vex to Earth itself. He would live at a research facility in Colorado where he could work with human scientists to share his knowledge. Jake would continue as his primary contact and friend. As they prepared for the trip to Earth, Jake felt proud of what they had accomplished. Humanity had made its first alien friend, and the future looked brighter than ever. He looked at Vex, who was resting in his quarters, and felt grateful that he had insisted on the rescue mission. Vex seemed to sense Jake looking at him and turned toward the window. For just a moment, Jake thought he saw something different in those black eyes. Something cold and calculating. But then Vex sent him an image of gratitude and friendship, and Jake forgot his brief concern. Everything was going to be wonderful. The research facility in Colorado was perfect for Vex. Hidden in the mountains and surrounded by beautiful forests, it felt peaceful and safe. Jake spent every day there working with his alien friend. Vex seemed happy to be on Earth and eager To share more of his knowledge with humanity, the technology integration was happening faster than anyone had expected. Vex understood human computer systems like he had built them himself. He could look at any machine and immediately see ways to make it better. Power generators became more efficient. Medical scanners could see deeper into the human body. Communication systems could reach farther into space than ever before. It is amazing how quickly he learns our technology, Jake told Dr. Sam Rodriguez. During lunch, Sam was the facility's computer specialist, and she had been working closely with Vex on the technical improvements. Sam picked at her food and looked tired. Maybe too quickly, she said quietly. Jake, have you noticed how he always knows exactly what questions to ask? It is like he already understands everything about our systems before we explain them. Jake smiled. He's just very intelligent, Sam. His people were far more advanced than us. Of course he picks things up quickly, but Sam did not look convinced. She had dark circles under her eyes and her hands shook slightly when she reached for her coffee cup. I have been having those dreams again, Jake, the ones with the dark creatures, they feel so real. Jake felt sorry for Sam, but he was also getting tired of people complaining about bad dreams. Then Parker says the dreams are normal stress reactions. Maybe you should talk to him about getting some medicine to help you sleep better. Sam nodded, but she still looked worried. Maybe you are right. I just wish I could shake the feeling that something is wrong. That afternoon, Jake found Vex in the main computer lab. The alien was standing in front of a wall of screens that showed different parts of Earth's communication network. His long fingers moved over the controls with impossible speed and accuracy. What are you working on today, my friend? Jake asked. Vex turned and sent Jake an image of gratitude and warmth. Then he shared pictures showing how he was improving the network to carry more information faster. Jake saw images of people all over Earth being able to communicate instantly with anyone anywhere in the world. That sounds wonderful, Jake said. You are going to change everything for the better. Vex sent another image that seemed to show agreement and pleasure. Then he turned back to his work. Jake watched for a while, amazed by how quickly Vex could understand and modify complex systems that human engineers had spent years building. That night, Jake was walking past the computer lab when he saw light coming from under the door. He thought Sam might be working late again, so he decided to check on her. When he opened the door, he found Vex standing alone in the dark room. The alien was not using the normal computer controls. Instead, thin tendrils of what looked like living metal had grown from his fingers and connected directly to the computer systems. The screen showed information flowing at impossible speeds. Data about military bases and government facilities and population centers all over Earth. Jake stood frozen in the doorway. This was not the same as the improvements Vex had been making. During the day, this looked like something else entirely. Something secret. Vex sensed Jake's presence and turned around. The metal tendrils quickly disappeared back into his fingers. He sent Jake an image of surprise and embarrassment, like a child caught doing something they should not do. What were you doing, Vex? Jake asked. Vex sent images showing that he was trying to learn more about Earth so he could help humans better. He shared pictures of himself studying human culture and technology to understand how to make better improvements. Jake wanted to believe his friend, but something felt wrong. Why? Were you looking at military information? And what were those things coming from your hands? Vex sent more images. Pictures showing that his people could connect directly with technology using biological interfaces. He explained that he was just trying to learn faster so he could help more. The military information was just part of understanding how human society worked. Jake felt his doubts fading. Of course, Vex would want to understand all aspects of human civilization, and if his people could interface directly with computers, that would explain how he learned so quickly. I'm sorry I doubted you, Jake said. I just was not expecting to see you working so late. Vex sent an image of understanding and forgiveness. Then he shared a picture showing that he did not need as much sleep as humans and preferred to work. When he would not disturb anyone, Jake said goodnight and went to his quarters. But he had trouble sleeping. Something about what he had seen bothered him, even though Vex's explanations made sense. The next morning, Sam Rodriguez did not come to work. When Jake went to check on her, he found her in her apartment sitting on the floor and staring at the wall. She was talking to herself in a quiet voice. "Sam, what is wrong?" Jake asked. She looked at him with wild eyes. "They are coming, Jake. The voices told me they are coming. The dark ships are almost here, and we helped them find us." Jake knelt down beside her. "Sam, you are having a breakdown. Let me call Dr. Parker." "No," Sam grabbed his arm with surprising strength. "You have to listen to me. I found something in the computer systems. Hidden programs that map everything. Military positions and population centers and resource locations. Someone is preparing Earth for invasion." Jake felt his heart racing. "Sam, you're not thinking clearly. You need medical help." "It is Vex," Sam whispered. "He is not what he pretends to be. I found the hidden code, Jake. He has been mapping our defenses and sending information somewhere. The technology he gave us has backdoors built in." Jake stood up and backed away. "That is impossible, Sam. Vex is our friend. He saved our technology. He made everything better." Sam laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "Better for who, Jake? Better for us, or better for the things that are coming to eat us?" Dr. Parker arrived with a medical team, and they sedated Sam. As they carried her away, she kept saying the same thing over and over. "The voices told me they are coming. The dark ships are coming." Jake went back to the facility feeling shaken. He found Vex in his usual place working on computer systems. The alien turned and sent images of concern when he saw Jake's expression. Jake told Vex about Sam's breakdown and her wild accusations. Vex sent images of sadness and worry. He shared pictures showing how some humans could not handle the stress of rapid technological change. He seemed genuinely concerned about Sam's condition. "She said you were hiding things in our computer systems," Jake said. "She said you were mapping our defenses." Vex sent strong images of denial and hurt. He showed Jake pictures of all the good things he had done for humanity, the clean energy and the medical advances and the improved communications. Why would Jake believe the words of someone who was clearly having mental problems? Jake felt ashamed for doubting his friend. "I am sorry, Vex. I know you would never hurt us. Sam is just sick and confused." But that night Jake could not sleep. He kept thinking about what Sam had said and what he had seen in the computer lab. Finally, he got up and went to check on Vex. The alien's quarters were empty. Jake searched the facility and found him in the communication center. Once again, the metal tendrils were connected to the systems and data was flowing at incredible speeds. This time, Jake stayed hidden and watched. On the screens, he could see star charts and navigation data, information about Earth's location and solar system defenses, military response times and fleet positions. As Jake watched in horror, he realized that Sam had been right. Vex was not their friend. He was something else entirely. Something that had been using Jake's trust and compassion to prepare Earth for destruction. The alien Vex sensed Jake watching and turned around. This time he did not send images of embarrassment or explanation. Instead, Jake saw something cold and calculating in those black eyes. Something that had been hidden behind the mask of friendship. For the first time since the rescue, Jake understood that he had made a terrible mistake. The alarm started screaming at 3 a.m. Jake woke up to red lights flashing in his quarters and the voice of Admiral Morgan coming through the emergency speakers. Every military base on Earth was reporting the same thing. Massive alien ships appearing at the edge of the solar system. Jake ran to the main control room where chaos ruled everything. Scientists and military personnel crowded around screens showing the approaching fleet. The ships were huge and black like pieces of space that had come alive. There were hundreds of them moving toward Earth with terrible purpose. "How many, Jake?" asked Dr. Parker, who was standing near the main display. "More than we can count," Ben said. His face was pale and his hands were shaking. "They appeared all at once like they knew exactly where to find us." Jake felt sick to his stomach. He thought about Sam's warnings and what he had seen Vex doing in the computer center. "Where is Vex?" he asked. "In his quarters," Ben said. "Why do you ask?" Jake did not answer. He ran through the corridors to Vex's room. When he burst through the door, he found the alien standing calmly by the window looking up at the sky. Vex had changed. His skin was darker now and his limbs looked longer. Thin metal wires were growing from his head and connecting to devices that had not been there before. "You did this," Jake said. "You called them here." Vex turned around, and for the first time since Jake had known him, the alien did not send friendly images. Instead, Jake felt cold thoughts pushing into his mind like ice water. Vex was not hiding anymore. The thoughts that came from Vex were not in pictures this time, but in concepts that Jake could understand perfectly. Vex was a harvester, a living weapon designed to find new worlds and prepare them for consumption by the devourers. Everything he had told Jake was a lie. Thyros was not his homeworld. It was his first victim. The beautiful crystal cities and peaceful people had been real, but Vex had helped destroy them. He had done exactly what he was doing to Earth. He had gained their trust and mapped their defenses and called the devourers to feed. The grateful refugee story was very effective, Vex said. His voice sounded different now, colder and more mechanical. Your species responds so predictably to requests for help. It made my job much easier. Jake felt like he was drowning. Oh. The technology you shared. The medical advances and clean energy systems. Mapping tools disguised as gifts, Vex said. Every improvement I made to your systems included hidden functions that gave me access to your networks. Your entire planetary defense grid is under my control now. As if to prove his point, every screen in the facility suddenly showed the same image. Earth's military systems were shutting down one by one. Satellites went dark. Missile defense networks stopped responding. Communication arrays turned off. Everything that Vex had improved was now working against humanity. Jake thought about all the times he had defended Vex against suspicion, all the times he had convinced others to trust the alien, all the decisions he had influenced because he believed in their friendship. You used me, Jake said. I used your emotions, Vex corrected. Humans have such strong feelings about helping others. It makes you easy to manipulate. I simply gave you what you wanted to believe. Jake remembered the warm feelings of friendship and purpose he had felt when working with Vex, the pride in being chosen as primary contact, the joy of being part of first contact. All of it had been artificial. Vex had been controlling his emotions from the beginning. Sam tried to warn me, Jake said. You drove her insane to stop her from exposing you. Dr. Rodriguez was more resistant to my influence than most humans, Vex said. I had to apply more direct pressure to her mind. Unfortunately, some humans break under that pressure. The building shook as explosions echoed from outside. Through the window, Jake could see military aircraft falling from the sky. Their own weapons were turning against them, just as Vex had planned. Jake ran back to the control room where Captain Lisa and Pete Collins had arrived from the space station. Lisa was trying to coordinate with military forces around the world, but the communication systems kept failing. The defense networks are completely compromised, Pete reported. Every system that Alien touched is working against us. We are fighting with whatever equipment predates his involvement. Amy Johnson was frantically working at a computer terminal. I'm trying to reverse some of the modifications he made, but there are too many systems affected. He had access to everything. Jake felt the weight of responsibility crushing down on him. This is my fault, he said. I convinced everyone to trust him. I made this happen. Lisa looked at him with understanding instead of anger. Jake, we all wanted to believe in peaceful first contact. You were not the only one who trusted him, but I was his strongest advocate. Jake said, I pushed for every decision that gave him more access and more freedom. I delivered humanity to its destroyers. The screens around them showed the Devourer fleet getting closer to Earth. The ships were so massive they blocked out stars as they moved. Earth's remaining military forces were trying to organize a defense, but with most of their advanced systems compromised, they were fighting with outdated equipment against overwhelming odds. There has to be something we can do, Amy said. Some weakness we can exploit. Jake thought about everything he had learned about Vex and the Harvesters. He said his species had consumed many worlds before Earth. They must have a standard process for this, which means they expect certain reactions from their victims, Pete said. They plan for normal military responses and logical defense strategies. Amy stopped typing and looked up. What if we do something they do not expect? Something completely illogical. Jake felt a small spark of hope. Vex always seemed confused when humans acted in ways that did not make sense to him. His people think in very organized patterns, Lisa nodded slowly. So we fight dirty. We do things that make no sense from a military perspective. But first, we need to deal with our harvester problem, Pete said. As long as Vex controls our systems, we cannot mount any kind of effective resistance. Jake knew what he had to do. I can get close to him. He still thinks I am under his influence. Maybe I can find a way to disrupt his connection to our networks. It is too dangerous, Lisa said. If he realizes you are free from his control, he will kill you. He is going to kill all of us anyway, Jake said. At least this way I might be able to help. Amy handed Jake a small device. This is a computer virus I have been working on. If you can get it into direct contact with his biological interfaces, it might disrupt his control systems. Jake took the device and headed back toward Vex's quarters. Behind him he could hear Lisa coordinating with the remaining military forces and Pete organizing the facility's defenses. Amy was working to identify any systems that might still be free from Vex's control. As Jake walked through the corridors, he thought about all the people who would die because of his mistakes. But he also thought about the chance to make things right. Humanity might not survive what was coming, but they would not go down without a fight. The real battle was just beginning, and for the first time since the Devourer ships appeared, Jake felt something other than despair. He felt angry and determined and ready to show these creatures that humans could be unpredictable in ways they had never imagined. Jake stood outside Vex's door holding Amy's virus device. His heart was beating so fast he thought the alien might hear it. He had to pretend everything was normal. He had to make Vex believe he was still under the Harvester's influence. He knocked on the door and entered when Vex called to him. The alien was standing at a control panel that had grown from the floor like a metal tree. Dozens of organic cables connected him to every system in the facility, Jake Vex said without turning around. I was wondering when you would come to me. Are you ready to accept the truth about what is happening? Jake forced himself to sound calm. I have been thinking about what you told me, about being a harvester and preparing worlds for the Devourers. And what do you think? Vex asked. I think I understand now, Jake said carefully. You were just doing what you were designed to do. I cannot blame you for following your nature. Vex turned to look at him. Those black eyes seemed to search Jake's face for signs of deception. You are taking this much better than I expected. Most humans become very emotional when they learn the truth. Jake moved closer to the control panel. What happens now? Do? The Devourers just destroy everything. Not destroy, Vex said. Harvest. They will take everything useful from your world. The metals and energy sources and biological materials. Your species will become part of the Devourer collective. Will you stay on Earth? Jake asked. No, once the harvest begins, I will be sent to find the next world. There are always more civilizations to prepare. Vex seemed almost sad about this. I sometimes wish I could stay and see what becomes of the worlds I help harvest. But I have my function and the collective has its needs. Jake was close enough now. The virus device was hidden in his hand. He just needed to get it into contact with one of the organic cables. Can I see how the harvest works? Jake asked. I want to understand the process. Vex nodded and turned back to his controls. The Devourer ships are moving into position now. They will begin by consuming your military satellites and space stations. Then they will focus on population centers. As Vex explained the process, Jake slowly reached toward one of the organic cables. Just as his hand touched the slimy surface, Vex spun around and grabbed his wrist. What are you doing, Jake? The alien asked. His grip was incredibly strong. Nothing, Jake said. I was just curious about how these cables work. Vex's eyes narrowed. You are lying. I can sense the deception in your mind. You are no longer under my influence. Jake tried to pull away, but Vex held him tight. When did you break free? The alien demanded. When I saw what you really were, Jake said. When I realized that everything you told me was a lie. Vex made a sound like metal scraping against stone. It does not matter. You cannot stop what has already begun. The harvest will proceed with or without your cooperation, Jake smiled. Maybe, but you made one mistake. What mistake? Vex asked. You assumed humans would react logically to your invasion, Jake said. You planned for organized military resistance and predictable defense strategies. But humans do not always do what makes sense. As if responding to a signal, explosions began echoing from all around the facility. But these were not the sounds of Devourer weapons destroying human defenses. These were human weapons being used. In ways that made no military sense at all, Vex released Jake's wrist and rushed to his control screens. What he saw there made him make that scraping sound again. Human forces all over the world were doing completely illogical things. Military units were abandoning their bases and scattering in random directions. Instead of forming organized defensive lines, they were breaking into small groups and moving unpredictably. Some forces were attacking their own compromised equipment rather than trying to use it. Fighter pilots were flying their planes in spirals and loops that served no tactical purpose. Naval ships were sailing in zigzag patterns that made no sense. Ground forces were using ancient tactics mixed with modern weapons in combinations that defied all military logic. What are they doing? Vex demanded. This is not how civilized species respond to invasion. You studied our technology and our military systems, Jake said, but you never really understood humans. We can be logical when we need to be, but we can also be completely crazy when that serves us better. On the screens showing the Devourer, Fleet Jake could see that the massive ships were having trouble responding to Earth's chaotic defense. The aliens had planned their attack based on predictable human behavior. They expected organized resistance that they could systematically overcome. Instead, they found themselves facing an enemy that seemed to have no plan at all. Human forces would appear from unexpected directions and attack with weapons that should not work together. When the Devourers adapted to one tactic, the humans would switch to something completely different. Amy's voice came through the facility's communication system. Jake, if you can hear this, the virus worked. Vex's control over our systems is breaking down. Jake looked at Vex, who was frantically working at his controls trying to regain full access to Earth's networks. But the virus was spreading through the organic cables and disrupting his connection. You cannot win, Vex said. The Devourer fleet is too powerful. Your chaotic tactics may confuse them temporarily, but they will adapt. Maybe, Jake said. But humans have been surviving impossible situations for thousands of years. We are very good at finding ways to win when we should lose. Pete Collins appeared in the doorway with several security guards. Jake, get away from him. We are evacuating the facility. Jake backed toward the door, but Vex moved to block his path. The alien's appearance was changing again. His limbs stretched longer, and his skin turned black like the Devourer ships. Spikes of metal grew from his arms and back. If I cannot complete my mission, I can at least eliminate the human who caused me to fail, Vex said. Jake ducked as Vex lunged at him. The metal spikes scraped against the wall where his head had been. Pete and his guards opened fire, but their bullets barely scratched the alien's transformed skin. The cables, Jake shouted. Destroy the organic cables. Amy appeared with a flamethrower and began burning the connections between Vex and the facility's systems. The alien screamed and fell to his knees as his network access was completely severed. As they ran from the building, Jake could see the battle raging in the sky above. Earth's chaotic defense strategy was working better than anyone had hoped. The Devourer ships were retreating to regroup. They had never faced an enemy that fought with such beautiful unpredictability. Captain Lisa met them outside. The fleet is pulling back, she reported. They are having trouble adapting to our random Tactics. How long can we keep this up? Jake asked. Long enough, Amy said with a grin. I have been analyzing their response patterns. The Devourers are very good at countering logical strategies, but they cannot handle true chaos. As long as we keep doing things that make no sense, we have a chance. Jake looked up at the sky where human fighters were still flying in impossible patterns while engaging the alien ships. He thought about all the worlds that Vex had helped destroy, all the civilizations that had fought logically and predictably and lost, but humans were different. They could be compassionate enough to rescue an enemy and clever enough to turn that enemy's weapons against them. They could be organized when they needed to be and completely insane when that worked better. The battle was far from over, but for the first time since the invasion began, Jake believed they could win. The Devourers had made the same mistake that Vex had made. They had underestimated the beautiful unpredictability of human nature, and that mistake was going to cost them everything.